Okay, so in 2008, there were 120 rock climbing gyms in the USA, and as of right now, there are 746. So rock climbing has really gained in popularity, and I also have joined in at the end of high school. I started rock climbing in the summer, and I still consider myself a beginner, but I will give you some sort of tips and hints and what you need to know about rock climbing coming in, and also sort of from a beginner's point of view. So first I'll talk about terms, then I'll talk about gear, and I'll sort of talk about physical benefits, why it's fun, and why you should give it a shot. So first off, before you even start climbing on a wall, there are going to be a lot of terms thrown around that if you go to a rock climbing gym, or you even go outside, you'll hear, and you probably won't know what's going on. So these are just going to be terms that I picked out that I think are the most important that you should know. And so here we go. A flash is like your first attempt of a line or a wall ever. Like, it can't be your first attempt of the day. It has to be the first attempt of, like, ever trying this wall. And if you flash it, it means you got it in the first try. And that's sort of a big badge of honor for rock climbers to do. And then if you're rock climbing, you see a jug. It's a very, very deep hold. One of those that are much better for beginners to grab onto. So you'll see you climbing, you'll be climbing, your friend will be pointing out holds for you while you're climbing and whatnot. And he'll say, look, grab the jug to your left or to the right or whatnot. And a dyno is when you see when you see those really epic pictures of someone climbing, you see them hanging. A dyno, you are from one position and you jump or leap in a very dynamic move to the hold, and that's called a dyno. A crux is the most difficult move in a line or on a wall. And then if you want to match, that's also, it's similar, you match on jugs for the most part. You get one hand and you get another hand up there, or you can even match with your feet. You can get one foot on hold, you get another foot on. And then also, if you are bouldering is the inside, like when you go to a rock climbing gym, it's called a problem. You're going to be climbing a problem. And when you're outside, you're going to be climbing a line. So those are just some terms that are going to be thrown around. There are lots more, but when you're beginning, this is what you're going to hear the most. So first, now you know about the terms. Before you get on the wall again, you're going to want to get gear. The nice thing about rock climbing is, for the most part, it's relatively cheap for a sport. In football, you need lots of gear and padding. Hockey, you need lots of gear. Rock climbing, really, you can start with two things, and I have a third that is optional. So first off, we're going to start with shoes. Pretty basic shoes. What you'll notice is you have really hard rubber or plastic, more rubber near the toes, and it also wraps around here. And it's more similar to a basketball shoe because you would think that you'd want grip, but in reality you want to have the most surface area on a hole or a wall or whatever you're trying to grab onto. That's why they're more sort of flat. You don't have them like a big tread like you would on like a bicycle tire or something like that. And also you have more rubber and hardness around the heel as well, because you will be doing things like heel hooks or toe hooks, and you need that extra rubber, one for grip and two just sort of to protect yourself. Now we're going to move on to the chalk. Chalk's really important. It comes in three forms. There's like the normal powder chalk that most people are familiar with. Then there is the ball, which I have. You sort of see it. I don't want to pull it out and make too much of a mess, but you can see it. It's in like a little baggie, and you just squeeze it. You get chalk on your fingers and your hands. And then the third form, which is optional and is more for those people who are very crazy about their chalk and very into it. It comes in like a block, and you have to actually break it up itself. And then the optional, is when you first start rock climbing and you're sort of new, your hands are not really going to be very used to it. It's going to be very rough on your hands. You're going to get lots of blisters and cuts and whatnot. So I really advise that you get tape. It can help prevent blisters and can also help, if you already have a blister, it will prevent you from getting a lot worse and hopefully prevent you from bleeding. So that's about it. But as for clothing, just wear something loose, something you probably wear to the gym, but also wear something you're not worried about getting dirty, because you will get chalk all over you, and that's just sort of the way it goes. Also, the health benefits of it, you work out a lot. Like, you can't really tell, but I do work out. And the good thing about rock climbing is for me, when I go to the gym, I sort of hate having to, just work out the arms and then just work out the core. Rock climbing, you are able to work out your arms, your core, your legs. You're able to work out everything in a wide variety at the same time. And also, it's just very enjoyable. You put 100% of what you got into a line or a problem, and the outcome, if you get it, it's just really amazing, a really good feeling. So I really advise everyone, give it a try, give it a shot, get the gear, learn the terms, and hopefully you will be a good rock climber. Thank you.
All right, James, what did you think?
Pretty passionate about you explaining how the rock climbing goes, and like like giving out details about it. Then you had showed like the visuals, like the shoes, and like just get like you get like a little scar or something, like a little wrap up. And for the bag, probably could like show like a 30-second clip of like rock climbing and like probably like pictures. And that's it. But overall, it was pretty good. Good visual aids.
Thank you.
All right, well, let's talk about the visual aids. I like the fact that you've got some objects here that you're showing us, and I think that that's interesting. And you do have a nice explanation about the shoes that you're talking about and why they work a particular way. But I think you're missing a trick, because you describe a whole bunch of moves or things that go on in rock climbing and why you have to have the shoes for doing those kinds of things. And I'm thinking that would be a great thing to have a visual of, a picture of. You know, you mentioned some of those terms that I'm going on. The toe hook, the heel hook, and I think there was a dyno kind of thing. And I'm going, boy, seeing those things would help explain what you're talking about so much easier, and then you can combine it with the object so that we could see why those things connect in that way. I do get a little confused here, because I'm not sure. Sometimes it sounds like you're talking about doing this in a gym, and sometimes it sounds like you're talking about doing it outdoors in a natural environment, and maybe you're doing both. It was not clear to me. And that would be another thing that maybe the visuals would clarify, because sometimes I know they have rock walls in gyms that people do that kind of thing on, and it's still referred to as rock climbing, although maybe it's wall climbing instead, although that makes it sound like Spider-Man. That's a little bit different. I'm not sure if they do that. But you gave us a whole bunch of terms at the beginning, and I'm going, now do those terms, because like you mentioned, for example, you have somebody who's a spotter for you telling you about the wait, I'm trying to remember the word. Not the hole, the
jug.
Jug, yes, the jug to the right or the left or something like that. And I'm going, well, if you were climbing a mountain or a hill or something like that, I'm not sure that anybody, how would they hear you, or how would you know what was going on, or how would they see those kinds of things? And then I'm thinking, well, maybe it's the indoor thing when people are talking about those kinds of things. So it's like I said, I think that needed to be a little bit clearer. I thought you had a good justification at the beginning of the speech for why it is that you're talking about this, the increased number of people who are doing this and in their investment in it. You've got a good detailed preview of what you're going to be talking about, so I thought that worked well. Also, you got a lot of terms that you define, and I think that that's okay. I was wondering if there was a place that we could go to see all those definitions, maybe like in some urban dictionary or something like that. There's not really any citation of supporting material in the presentation. Even the material that talks about how many more people are climbing or how many more groups there are that do this, I know that came from someplace, but I don't get a source citation on it. You've got a lot of examples here. In talking about the shoes, maybe there's some expert who has given you this information about why the shoes work a particular way, or maybe you just read a brochure when you were buying the shoes. I don't know which way it works, how you got that information, and I think that we need to have a little bit of backup on those kinds of things. So the thing that I think that you do really well, though, is talk to the audience. I mean, you are engaged with us for the most part. I think you could probably step away from the desk a little bit. You know, 3 steps forward and to the right here would be perfectly, or to the left from your perspective would be perfectly fine. You know, we don't bite. Well, Ryan's sitting up front. Maybe he bites a little bit, but you know, the rest of us are pretty safe. And you could. It'll pull us in more if you are physically engaged as well. I know that you want to stay close to your visuals, but sometimes it feels a little bit like people are shrinking into the background when they stay in that position. I can understand when you're using the screen, you want to be off to the side of where the screen is so you're not standing in front of the picture, but since you never use that, I wasn't sure why you were in that particular spot. All right, thank you.